Wow, it's been a minute. Uh-oh. Hope I don't drop my coffee. It's been a minute since I've recorded a video about myself. I uploaded one recently, but it was a pretty decent video. As you can see, I put my locks back in. That didn't last very long. I had my locks out for like 2 weeks, and for those of you that didn't see the last video, I cut my locks off because I have alopecia right here at the top of my crown. That's about maybe the size of a $50, I think it's what it's called. Those big old quarter things, coins. I mean, so just getting straight to it, I want to go ahead and just update you on what's been happening over here on the home front, and kind of just tell you like how I'm feeling, why I'm here, why the heck am I one of those people that felt like I needed to live off grid to be happy, you know? So I would have thought that it was obvious, but to be honest with you, not everyone feels the same way I feel about the government and the system, so to speak, the matrix. So, long story short, growing up, I've always kind of wanted to be off by myself and secluded. Not all the time, but a lot of the times, because I have no problem with being by myself. I have no problem with, having being with myself, as I like to call it, because I think it's necessary. But I also had to learn, as time went by, that I shouldn't be super isolated to the point where I'm never around people, because it's just not normal. It's not conducive to our spiritual growth, because human beings are meant to be energetically around each other for a certain amount of time, because we feed off of each other's energy. And sometimes that's bad, sometimes that's good, but I don't want to go into why it's bad in this video. But again, growing up, I had no problem with being isolated. I'm Aquarius sun sign. So, as you know about that, I just kind of off by myself anyway. But not going into astrology or anything like that. I think I just want to give you a brief on what happened about a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, I decided to leave my marriage. I decided to leave Florida, the state where I was born and raised. And I decided to start traveling full time in my camper van. And that that decision was one of the hardest decisions and the most exciting decisions of my entire life. The hardest decision was hurting my partner at the time, knowing that I would be literally breaking his heart. But after getting permission from my mom, who had passed away 3 years prior, I knew that it was time to go. And as you know, when our mom says that it's time to go, when your mom gives you permission to leave, it's time to leave. So me being a spiritual person, I would be hearing my mom early in the morning, late at night. Like, I'm talking about crazy anxiety I was getting. I could hear her voice telling me, Tanisha, it's time to go. Tanisha, stop being afraid. It's time to go. And I decided, I was just like, okay, today has to be it. Because the more I dragged this on, this feeling that I had, that this mortgaged house that I had, all these belongings, all these tangible items, all this sort of roommate type energy that I was feeling with my partner, and all the things that we had built together, it wasn't it for me anymore. It didn't feel right. I was no longer comfortable with it. And I was running around painting walls, changing the way that I looked, trying to change everything in my environment before I realized it wasn't my environment that needed to change. It was literally me. I needed to move into the life that I was being called to live in, and I was afraid to. I was, again, afraid to hurt my partner. And I was also afraid to fall, because when you jump off of a cliff and you can't see the bottom, you're wondering if you're going to live or not. And once I got past that fear, once I got to the point where I realized that my fear was just a byproduct of my environment and my experience as a child, and I healed from that just by simply asking the right questions, by the way, just simply talking to my mom and my ancestors, talking to my friends as well, and saying, hey, I'm going to do this. And some of them called me crazy. Some of them said, you should stick it out because you're married. You shouldn't leave your marriage. God doesn't approve. And I had to really redefine what the word marriage meant to me. The word marriage isn't always defined as, being a married couple in the Christian faith, or a legal married couple. It has everything to do with a partnership. And if you no longer feel like your partner is your partner, then you got to do some work. And if the partner isn't willing to meet you halfway, then the question is, how long are you going to stay in that partnership? And that's the question I had to ask myself. So, anyways, moving past that, once I decided to get a divorce and I was comfortable with it, I went ahead and let my mom's birds go, which was another symbolic lesson for me. My mom was one of those people that had birds in a cage all the time. I am really, really against that, but that's besides the point. She had cockatiels, she had parakeets when I was growing up, but she had 3 or 4 cockatiels at the time when she passed away. So, being the oldest of 3, of course, I took the birds in and I tried holding on to them as long as I could. They drove me insane. The feathers would mess with my allergies. I couldn't do virtual meetings because at the time I was doing psychic meetings and I was also working virtually. I couldn't do that because they were like in the house loud as heck and you could just hear them so loud. It just wasn't working out. And I remember having this anxiety about like letting the birds go. And then I was driving home from work one day and I heard loud and clear from my mom again that it's okay to let him go. She said, "It's okay, Tadisha, it's okay." So I went ahead and posted on Facebook Marketplace to see if anyone wanted some birds, and someone took them. And obviously my siblings didn't want them either, else I wouldn't have had them. So they weren't trying to deal with them either. They had no stable place to live. So it was all on me as usual, being the oldest. It's always on the oldest, his back and everything, the responsibility. Just really quick, by the way, part of my lesson for leaving Florida was leaving that responsibility. And if you're watching this video and you're still listening and you have some sort of inherent responsibility that you took on because you're the oldest, because you're the most responsible, because of whatever reason, when you were younger, at some point you will have to set boundaries and you will have to take a step back and ask yourself if you're taking things from yourself, energy from yourself that you need so that you can grow and thrive because you're so busy handing it out to everyone else. So just something to think about. Again, I went ahead and let the birds go. And then once I did that, I was full force into manifesting a camper van because I had no vehicle at the time. I let my mom's car go. It was mine for a while. It was a Dodge Charger, bright red, beautiful, fast. And it was in my name because I got it from my mom. And when she passed, obviously, it went to me. So I left that $1,000 car payment and insurance go because holy crap. And once I let that go, it was basically getting in the camper van and then getting the funds to sustain me on the road 24/7, full time. So I was like, how am I going to do this? And then Spirit said, you need to start going on TikTok live and you need to start talking. You need to go on Instagram live and start talking. And I was like, talk about what? He said, tell your story. Talk about the things you've gone through. People can resonate with that. People can learn from your experience. So I did that. And once I started doing that, people were asking me, they were like, are you psychic? Like, how did you know this? How did you know that? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't subscribe to that. I'm not a psychic medium. I'm not like Sonabella or, that one blonde kid that's been on Netflix. Tyler Henry, I think his name is. But anyways, I ended up working at a homeless shelter for about 4 months after leaving my corporate job that I worked really hard for. It's another thing I had to let go. I was like, this isn't for me. So I got out of tech, went straight to a homeless shelter, making a fraction of what I made at the corporate job. And the money didn't matter because it sustained me. And again, I met someone there at this homeless shelter, and he started explaining what his future home would look like. He had just applied to an apartment nearby. And I stopped him for the first time ever. I've never really stopped someone mid-conversation to ask them this question. And I said, can I tell you what I'm seeing? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, can I tell you what I'm seeing? Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm seeing the place that you're talking about. You never explained it to me in detail. And he said, sure. And I explained exactly what the room looked like, the house looked like, and what he was doing inside the room without ever having seen it. And I said in that moment, and he's tearing up because that was a confirmation he would have, his application was approved and he got the apartment. So he was like, whoa, how did you do that? But at the same time, I'm really happy. And I'm over here like, whoa, how did I do that? How did I see? And what is this called? Is this a sense? Is this, the psychic mediumship that everyone's talking about? So anyways, I went into a deep dive on what psychic mediumship was and started talking to other readers, had a couple of mentors that taught me how to see myself, how my senses work in particular. I would say that. because it's different for everyone. And I had to learn that. My mentors were great, but they really taught me how they saw, not how I would see. And that's the important thing, because they taught me confidence. They taught me that it would take time, and they taught me that I just had to practice, which is that it's that simple. It really is. So when I finally get back on TikTok Live, I start doing actual readings, and my readings are doing really well. I'm charging like $5 for like 3 questions, super cheap, and I'm making money. And I had someone else motivate me to start doing readings on the side, like official readings. And a beautiful person, beautiful soul. And I have to reach back out to her to see how she's doing. But anyways, she motivated me to do it. And I started doing like actual like readings using Calendly and going through Google Meet and doing virtual meetings with people. And I would do like 8 meetings a day for like $20. I was burning myself out. I don't even know how. I look back and I was like, how did I do that? That's crazy. And I just started increasing the price, and people were spending money, and they were reaching out to me, and they were giving me really, really, really great reviews and telling me how they felt about the reading and how much I helped them. And I still, at this moment in time, it's like December 2024, and I still haven't really like came to the conclusion that I'm a spiritual person now officially. I went from not knowing what meditation was just a couple of months prior to doing readings. So that enabled me to use the last bit of savings that I had and go ahead and purchase the camper van in January 2025, right before my birthday. I didn't even care about my birthday. I was just trying to get the camper van together. Got the camper van, and then renovated it with my neighbor that I never spoke to. He just came at the right time, which is how people are, right? That's how God is. But what else happened after that? I forgot. Oh yeah, and then I had that source of income. So I finally leave Florida. I mean, I left so quickly. I grabbed my cat and just got out of there so quickly. I told my partner, I prepared him as much as I possibly could. I gave him all the information he needed to pay the bills, and I said, I'll come back later for the rest of my stuff, and I got out of there. And when I left, I was so happy. I was so happy. And I only had $100 to my name, by the way. I didn't even have like any more savings after getting the car and, getting what I needed, food and stuff like that. So I had $100 to my name leaving Florida. And every time I stopped at a rest stop, I went live on TikTok, did a couple of readings, made the money to get to the next state. And I did that all the way to California. So after that, I started feeling, and this is when I'm passing through Arizona to get to California, I started feeling a connection to the land. I started feeling like there was just something here for me, even though it's barren and there's really populated cities, and then there's cities where there's no one there and it's sketchy and there's like meth heads everywhere, like I'm over exaggerating. They're not everywhere, but they're here for sure. So I don't know. I really don't know. And then what happened after that is I remembered a dream that I had a couple years prior. The dream, I was in my 60s. The land looked like this. I was walking around the desert, and I basically ended up in a large all black Victorian home, and everyone was celebrating, wearing all black, and they were celebrating life. It was a very post-apocalyptic world, because I would see buildings in the distance that once looked nice, but it looked like it had been completely destroyed, So, but there's also hints of the future. So it was very like steampunkish. It was really interesting. Long story short, met my grandson in this dream. Everyone was celebrating, not just me, but also other people in the community that had done a lot to help the children, they said. And I was like, okay, the most important part of this dream wasn't the premonition part of it, wasn't the fact that I met my grandson and all the other stuff I just mentioned. It was how I felt. I felt like I belonged in that community, wherever it was. So when I drove through Arizona to get to California to go to the Conscious Life Expo, I was like, ding, 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 I think that's it. I think Arizona's it. So heading back from California after the expo, I decided to go visit a friend in Alabama. That kind of felt kind of weird being there, to be honest with you. I felt like I really wasn't wanted there. It was just weird. It was a kind of, yeah. And then I decided to go ahead and jump on Facebook dating. And then I met someone through Facebook dating. So he's also in Alabama. So I drove there, met him, ended up staying there for 8 months. Even though I had told myself that I would stay on the road and not be in one place for more than a month, I stayed there for 8 months because I cared about him. I still do. He's actually with me right now. But more about Alabama. Alabama was a very, very interesting experience for me. And I'm actually going to be heading back soon to go ahead and help him with his stuff and his foundation because he still has a cabin there on a pretty decent sized property. Um, the biggest issue for me in Alabama, and this is some things that whenever you have a conflict, whenever you deal with something, it's usually an opportunity for growth. I would say confidently, it's always an opportunity for growth. Even though I had fun in Alabama, there was times where I really didn't. The property that he stayed on was a property that his mom lived on as well. And his mother, being this very strong personality, strong Capricorn sun, very opinionated, very loud, she made it very clear that she wanted him to stay to, make sure that his foundation was set and, he could do all the things that he wanted to do. And she just didn't agree with us, our partnership, basically. So she made that very clear, and it became a very stressful environment for me. So I ended up leaving eventually, and then came to Arizona to go ahead and get my cabin up and going and put together, get my property together. So since then, I've been here. Jeremiah is here with me as well, which is the person I met in Alabama. We've been together for about almost a year and a half now. I think it's been about a year. Yeah, it's a little over a year. And when we go back to Alabama, I will be challenged again because it's never stopped. It's just not directly in my face anymore. So it basically right now, the reason why I'm here is because I left the situation when I was in Florida where I left everything that I knew, everything that I cared about, um, to challenge myself, to be that self-sustainable person that I know inherently that I am. I know that we are going to a very post-apocalyptic world where some of us won't be here and some of us will. I'm not here because of fear. I just want to make that very clear. But I am here because I know that as a human being, it's important for us to be self-sustainable to a certain extent, Maybe not the whole way where you're pounding and creating flour to churn. I don't know, like you don't have to have a complete homestead, but I think post COVID most of us realize that we can't rely on the government. It's just a fact. There's no getting around that. What if grocery stores closed? That's chickens. They were actually quiet this whole time, so I'm really really happy. I'm not even mad. But we can't say that grocery stores are always going to be available to us. We need a community. We need community. It's just a fact at this point. So I'm here to create community, but I'm also here because I want to be, I want some time to, whoa, there's moss everywhere. I want some time to kind of find myself and get back to to relearn the version of myself that exists, basically. To relearn the version of myself that exists. So am I still doing psychic readings? I'm sorry. Am I still doing readings? For my older clients, I do, but to be honest with you, now I teach. I would rather teach you how to connect with your own spiritual senses because we all have them. And it's important for us to start using them. Not because you want to just do parlor tricks at a party one day. No, it's actually because every choice that we make, we have an intuition that tells us exactly the answer that we need. Every question we have, I mean. And if you can't hear that voice, then it's because you're blocked. And if you're blocked, it's because you're too far into the matrix and into the system that you're not going to hear, see, or feel what messages our guides are giving us. It's that simple. We all have spiritual senses. Most of us have no idea how to listen to them. So that's my goal, is to teach that. So by the way, if you're interested, email me, DM me, send me a comment, whatever. So why am I in Arizona? I'm in Arizona because I had a dream. I feel connected to the property, to the land. There's so much history here too. I mean, it's insane. I'm only scratching the surface of learning things about the indigenous here, and also how much I am part of that indigenous, people here. It's interesting. Just went to the Grand Canyon for the first time ever. It's absolutely insane. Gonna go to Sedona. Gonna go check out the old Western towns. And I have so much energy right now as someone who's dealt with chronic anemia. I'm talking about like go to the hospital type heavy bleeding that I used to have, menstrual cycles. And now I feel so energetic. I feel so alive. And I, it's not just the fact that I'm here and doing the things that I want to do. It's also the fact that I'm taking beef organ pills, which is something different. So for those of you that are watching this and you can resonate with having chronic anemia or even like PCOS symptoms as a woman, PCOS symptoms, I'm telling you right now, have you looked into beef organs? Just try it. Let me know how it pans out, because it's only been day 3, I think, since I've been taking them, and I'm like all over the place. And it's not because of this coffee. It's definitely, I feel different. I feel alive now and energetic. So I feel like I went all over the board, but that's me updating you. I mean, the person that I met in Alabama, Jeremiah, the person that I've been with for a little bit over a year, I mean, when I tell you that, it's so funny. It's like he's literally exactly what I asked for, to a T. To a T. It's kind of scary because I'm like, dang, should I have asked? But no, like he's this strong Leo sun. Strong Leo sun. And I mean, when I say strength, it's like insane. Like literally Leo to a core. And it's like whenever I feel like maybe I'm not being understood, or maybe I'm not seeing something very clearly, that's where he comes in. And it's like he could read my mind sometimes. And before I even finish my sentence, it's like he has the answer. And I'm like, how did you know? How did you? That's an interesting perspective. So I'll be challenged with, being able to be vulnerable and being able to listen a little bit more. And in a way, he's challenged as well in the same way. And it's interesting because we are a reflection of each other, a mirror of each other. And I think that's true partnership, is being able to, where one person in the partnership is lacking, the other person makes up for it. So he's this adventurous spirit where he physically feels like he can climb a mountain, do anything he wants. Where I'm more like, well, let me think about how high is that mountain? What's on the mountain? I'm logically thinking about it using my Aquarius brain, as he would say. And he's more like impulsive using his Leo brain. And matter of fact, I may make sure I have an audience when I climb this mountain. So it's just funny because it literally is the opposite. We're opposites on charts, on our astrology chart. So if you're listening to this and you're opposite of a person on your chart and you're with that person, the mirror is there for a reason. So maybe take a step back. This is something I've learned. Try not to judge, because in a way you're dealing with the same things that your partner's dealing with, just um, in a different theme, I guess I would call it. So as far as being helpful on the homestead, he's done a lot of the work out here. I'll be honest with you. Like my front yard looks amazing, and he's gotten the shower together. We're still working on it just because we're a little low on funds. The water's together because of him. We have a chicken coop because of him. So he's constantly on the move, and I'm always trying to keep up. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen the rest of this year, because we do have a lot of plans. And I'm going to go ahead and start working on another vehicle, another camper, just to hold our animals now and ourselves. We have 3 cats and a dog. So my camper van is just not going to do it, at least not comfortably. But worst case scenario, we'll just keep the camper van. It's whatever. But I made this video just to update you guys and tell you exactly why I left Florida, why I'm here in Arizona, and how I deal with conflict nowadays. Because after all the drama that happened in Alabama, and I won't go into detail, one of the things I keep telling myself is not to take anything personally. Don't take anything personally. So I think naturally it's hard when someone's 5 feet from you, screaming in your face about who you are, who they think you are. It's natural as humans to just be defensive and to either want to walk away and leave the conflict, or to give the energy right back. So what I've learned is to read into that in a deeper way, and to have better understanding of why someone would feel that they needed to react in that way toward you. And it is absolutely no one's responsibility but their responsibility to figure out what's going on with them. But it helps to have that understanding and to say, to understand that you're not just being attacked. They're doing it because they probably have no other way to communicate. They have no other way to say how they feel other than waiting for it to boil up and then boil over. So, to spill over. So, when I came to that conclusion, it's hard to label someone as, something negative, because you just kind of understand and you just kind of take it, leave the area, leave that energy, and make sure that they're not in your energy unless you want them to be. So when we head back and we go ahead and focus on getting his foundation back in order, making sure that he has what he needs, I'll be also making sure that I have what I need. And at some point, I'd like to head back to Florida to go ahead and do some conferences in person for the first time. I have had one first in-person event in New Mexico. One person showed up, but that person that showed up was the person I needed to speak to. So it was perfect. That's how the world works. That's how the universe works. So I'm going to do some bigger events in Florida. So when we head back to the East Coast, that's the plan. And the plan is also, again, not to take anything personally. So anyways, if you've gotten this far, I think I've pretty much hit everything that I wanted to talk about. And most important thing is why the heck I'm here, what my plan is here, and why I decided to come here. Like, I'm so proud of myself, it's ridiculous. I look back sometimes, I was like, I remember how I felt before I left my marriage. I remember how I felt. I felt like I couldn't do it. I felt like I would be hurting the person so much, but I realized that in not doing it, I was hurting them more. I was being selfish, and I was very vocal about how I felt, for a long time. It just wasn't reciprocated. There was no resolution. So, what else? The biggest thing too was leaving everything that I owned for the most part and bringing the important things with me. Obviously, my cat. Unfortunately, I lost her in Alabama, by the way, so that sucks. That was hard. What else? I don't know, but if you got this far, let me know in the comments what you think, and I'm gonna do some more of these videos. I'm gonna insert some photos and some other videos too. That way, you're not just staring at me talking and stuff. And if you're interested in joining my class, let me know. Let me know.